Hi, welcome to 2-7 Subtracting Decimals. Today or tonight you will realize that subtracting decimals is exactly as you added decimals.
It's about adding and subtracting decimals, which is actually a pretty easy lesson, because if you know how to add and subtract whole numbers, like 194 plus 292, you also know how to add and subtract decimals. The only difference is there's a decimal point.
Do you know what a decimal is? A decimal is a number with a decimal point in it, such as 3.62 or 0.4. A decimal point separates the whole number from the pieces, or the non-whole number. A decimal is like a fraction. Deci means 1/10, so decimals are in powers of 10. If we have 2.7, you can see we have 2 ones, or whole numbers, and 7/10, which means we have a fraction 7 over 10, or 7 out of 10 pieces of one whole. So the number on the left of the decimal is the whole number, and the number on the right shows how many pieces you have of one. Some countries use a comma instead of a point to separate the whole number from the pieces. Instead of writing a number like 42,347 and 2,800 like this, it looks like this. So a decimal is a whole number with pieces, which is separated by a decimal point, or in some countries, by a comma.
When you're adding and subtracting decimals, you have to line up the decimal points so the place values are correct. This is very important. Let me show you an example of what I mean. If we have a problem like 1.3 or 1 3/10 plus 24.56 or 24 56/100, the first thing you should do is rewrite the problem so the decimals are on top of each other, and then place the digits on the correct sides of the decimals. So 1.3 plus 24.56 will look something like this. It helps to place zeros in the empty spaces so you do not get confused. This really helps when subtracting. Now bring the decimal straight down and add like you normally would. Do not forget to bring the decimal straight down. This is very important. How about another problem? What if we have 72.04 or 72 4/100 and we subtract it by 4.608 or 4 608,000? Remember, the first thing you need to do is rewrite the problem so the decimals are lined up perfectly, and then place the digits on the correct sides to the decimals. So the problem will look like this. Now place the zeros in the empty spaces and subtract. See how the zeros help you? We now know we need to borrow from the 4 because we cannot subtract 8 from 0. It's too small. 4 turns into 3, and the 0 turns into 10. 10 minus 8 is 2, and 3 minus 0 is 3. Again, we need to borrow because we cannot subtract 6 from 0. So 2 turns into 1, and 0 becomes 10. 10 minus 6 equals 4. Now the 1 is too small, so we need to borrow from the 7. 7 turns into 6, and 1 turns into 11. 11 minus 4 equals 7, and 6 minus 0 equals 6. And we are done. Wait a second, I forgot something. Oh yeah, I forgot to bring the decimal straight down. See, it's something you can easily forget to do. Remember, always bring the decimal straight down. So, did you notice? While doing the work, we act like the decimal is not there. It's just like adding and subtracting whole numbers, except there's a point. Well, I hope the examples help. Now grab your handout and try some of the problems on your own.
See you next time.
All right, let's just try a few more here. I have 92 and 1/10 minus 32 and 6/10. What I need to do is I need to start in my tenths spot. 1 minus 6, I can't do it, so I need to borrow. The 2 becomes a 1. The 1 becomes an 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. Don't forget to bring down that decimal. 1 minus 2, I can't do it, so I need to change this to an 8. This becomes an 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. 8 minus 3 is 5. 59 and 5/10. Don't forget the inverse of subtraction is addition. So I can add 5 plus 6 is 11, 9 plus 2 is 11, 5 plus 3 is 8. Let's try this one. 8 and 7/10 minus 3/10. I need to rewrite it, lining up those decimals. Seven minus 3 is 4. Bring down my decimals. 8 minus 0 is 8. 8 and 4/10. Let's try this one out. 32 and 7/10 minus 2 and. Notice 2 and would start here because of my decimals. 2 and 328 thousandths. Up above, I have nothing above the 2 and nothing above the 8. Add in zeros because nothing means 0. This helps you out, keep things aligned, and also you can tell then that I'm subtracting 0, 8 from 0. So I start 0 minus 8. I can't do it. I need to borrow. I can't borrow from my neighbor, so I need to borrow from the 7. The 7 becomes a 6. This becomes a 10. I change that to a 9. And now I can borrow. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 2 is 7. 6 minus 3 is 3. I bring down my decimal. 2 minus 2 is 0. And of course, this also, blank spot is a 0. So 3 minus 0 is 3. For your notes today, we're not going to do any practice. We'll do some more practice at school tomorrow, but I want you to write this down under lesson 2-7. Make sure you know when adding and subtracting decimals, remember to line up the decimals. Have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.